Salut! We're back on the Titanic upon popular request. So today we're going to explore the Turkish baths, the swimming pool, and the gymnasium. And if we have time, I would like to see some second class rooms, but we'll see how we do. I'm gonna go slowly or try to go slowly so you don't get too motion sickness. I did take down some notes. But all those notes I got off the Titanic wiki. I would strongly recommend that you check out Ocean Liner Designs with Mike Brady. It's on YouTube. He does documentary style videos. They're very informative and you will lose hours just watching his channel. I also recommend Historic Travels. I do not know the name of the gentleman who runs it, but it's a much more relaxed channel, and he just recently went over the Titanic wreck model that was put together by Magellan and is in that Titanic RV game that is available on Steam. He was identifying a few key places on those wrecks and talking about a little bit. Very short videos, very entertaining. I would highly recommend checking them out. But let's jump into it. All right. Okay, so the Turkish baths and the swimming pool are connected. It's part of its own complex. It was both were only available to first class passengers, and you had to buy a ticket. You had to buy a ticket to access it. It was not part of your room ticket. Or yeah, your room ticket. So and then sorry for the tearing, and I went a little too fast. Oh, there we go. So here it tells you a little bit about the Turkish baths. Here are their hours: 10 to 1 for women. Women and men were separated. Um, Men, it was 2 to 7. Uh, about the same hour, yeah, the same hours for the swimming. Well, they call it the swimming bath, but it's the swimming pool. Men were 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., and women it was 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So when I said it's the same, it was not the same. So I misspoke. But yes. And respectively during the day at the same hours as the Turkish bath, free of charge. Okay. So the swimming bath is open for free, but you do have to buy tickets at the, well, they say inquiry office, they mean the purser's office. So you'll have to forgive me. I've been running around all morning. I've had a long day. I only recently ate. So here's the Turkish baths. So I'm going to try to go in slowly. There's going to be some screen tearing. I do apologize, but it's very opulent. Now, if you've seen any of the James Cameron documentaries or just any documentary in general, I think it was Ghosts of the Abyss. They did manage to go into the Turkish baths after the sinking, and it was in surprisingly good shape. Now, I believe parts of the wall were teak, and I think teak is a wood that will withstand heavy water damage and pressure. So I think all the parts of the ship that had teak on them were have remained pretty relatively well reserved. Like I think they have teaking on the edge of the decks at the top of the ship, and I think those parts have been preserved. I know some of the deck chairs were teak, but if you go watch, I think it's Ghost of the Abyss, but if you watch, the panels are in really good shape. Like the tile work has survived. It's heavily covered in debris. And I wrote down some information about it. I got it from I may have already mentioned this. I received the information from the Titanic wiki. I don't know how accurate the wiki is. Like I said, go to Ocean Liner Designs, go to Historic Travels. They do a much better job at accuracy. And I've already found a couple of bits of information that's incorrect on that. But I believe, hold on, what do I write down? Oops, sorry. I've got so little room. I've got this huge desk and I have so little room because it's full of stuff. Um, so yes, so the walls contained teak and bronze. The pillars are all teak. Again, I apologize for the tearing. You can see the bronze, you can see the teak. And then this beautiful tile artwork this is gorgeous. Um, they have a marble fountain. Yes, the folding chairs are teak. Says the cooling room does not have an exterior wall but fake portholes. Seawater flooded this area at 12:15 a.m. I do not know if that's accurate. I got that from the wiki, but so we're going to take a look around. Again, I apologize for the tearing. I'm trying to go very, very slowly. This is just incredible. Just incredible. Absolutely gorgeous. And I can zoom in. There we go. Again, I don't know how to get rid of that screen tearing. I'm sure there's something I could do in the settings, but just thought you might want to see. And I think those are little lock boxes for your valuables. You would have an attendant. Just look at that tile work. And I think they do have, well, one, you can see the tile in at least one of the documentaries, but I think they were actually able to salvage some of the tile. So, as you can see, very opulent. Okay. So again, we're going very slowly because I don't want you to be too overwhelmed. See, these chairs would have been teak, I think, except maybe this one. And then, of course, the marble fountain. And I don't know what this was, but I think these are just lock boxes for like watches or what have you. Just your valuables. And then there's a call button for the attendant. Right there. It's your call button. Oh, too close. We're too close. Okay, like I said, guys, I'm trying to go slowly here. So then you're going to gauge the temperature. It's very nice. Be very interesting to see what they do when, oh, and look at this tile flooring. So again, the flooring is linoleum. It's not like the kind of linoleum that you might find in your kitchen. Linoleum was relatively new and very good for ships. I can't, something about the durability of the linoleum. Easy to clean. You don't want a lot of carpet. And it's lightweight, which is important on a ship, especially a ship that has a ton of wood like oak. Okay. So if you've ever played Titanic Adventure Out of Time, you'll know what this is. We're coming to. Hold on one second. Yeah. And gosh, I'm blanking out on what it's called, but you'll remember this device very well. Steam bath is what I think. No. It used, did it use electricity? I think it did. Because wasn't he, well, I don't want to spoil it. If you've not played Titanic Adventure Out of Time, It's a great game. And it is on Steam. Very cheap, I think. It's a very old game. Again, I'm trying to go as slowly as possible. I I could not begin to tell you what any of these devices are for. I'm pretty sure that when Ocean Liner Designs and Titanic Honor and Glory made their videos on 401, Project 401, which is what this is, when they did a tour, they talked about what all these things were. And I couldn't for the life remember what they said, but it was very interesting videos, but they're very long. Very long. Because, I mean, they're touring this massive ship. And I'm trying so hard right now not to just zoom by. Sorry, I keep touching my hair keeps, my hair goes everywhere but where I want it to go. Again, more of the same here. I think that is some sort of shower over there, is what I think that is. Now, they did use salt water. Okay, alright, so here we go. I forget what. I'm sorry, this tile work is incredible. I'm just gonna let you enjoy that. Just beautiful. It's really a shame to think that this is all at the bottom of the ocean, slowly being torn away. Although I hear the ship is deteriorating really fast. So when the ship sank, obviously it's like in the middle of the Atlantic. It's heavy pressure. You've got those I forget what they're called, that's on the Titanic that is eaten away at the ship. And so where the ship maintained the most damage are the parts of the ship that are deteriorating the quickest. So, and then when one part of the structure goes, that's more damage, that's more exposure. So this is a steam room, I think. It's very claustrophobic. I could not be in this room. It's very well done, though. It's very nice. You might hear my dog in the background. I do apologize. Take our time. They say gamers never look up, so let me make sure I look up so you can admire the beautiful fixtures. If you want to see an up close of the fixtures, we can do that. Okay, again. Very pretty. That looks like bronze. I think that's bronze. Okay. Just trying to make small movements. I don't know what this is. Maybe this is... Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make a guess. There's another attendant button right there. Very nice. Very nice. Again, guys, I'm trying to go very, very slowly. Strongly recommend that you subscribe. Ocean Liner Designs. You will thank me later. Let me see. I keep going. Okay, so now we're going to enter. We're going to enter the pool. Again, this is salt water. This is not fresh water. Trying to go slow. I want to whip around so so quickly, but I'm going to go slow. So I know when this room was sealed by a watertight bulkhead. Just letting you take a look here. So it's possible, I know there's speculation that it's very well preserved. And then some people think because there's salt water in here for the pool that maybe something to do with the pressure may have also contributed. This tile is so pretty. So these are showers. And then you've got changing rooms, which are very nice. Okay, so fun fact about this. So I read that this is the is it this? Yeah, hold on. This is the only at the time the Titanic was built, and I think at the time she did her first and last voyage, she was the only other ship to have a swimming pool. The Olympic, her sister ship, the one that was built before her, had a swimming pool. It was the first ocean liner to have a swimming pool. So it was a big deal that she had a swimming pool. So, a very big deal. You can see inside they got a nice little bench there. I like that. And I've seen Victorian swimwear. Oh, well, this would have been Edwardian swimwear. I think they were actually, like, they look awkward, but I think they were actually quite comfortable. Definitely more modest than nowadays. And I don't know what those are. I'm not sure. Whoop. Okay. And then, do you want to take a dip? We can take a dip. We can go in. Oh, so you can see how, I don't know if they would have filled it up beyond this bar. Maybe. Like I said, I'm trying to go slow, guys. I'm assuming those bars are for people to grip. So I'm not sure. Okay, so I think this is it. Again, I apologize for that tearing. I don't know. It wasn't tearing like that last time, so I'm not sure. And these are, I believe these are the attendant lights. I think. I've never been on an ocean liner, but I actually wouldn't mind traveling on an ocean liner. I think that'd be nice. Okay, can I access any of these doors? Some of them you can. That's the linen storage. We have no interest in seeing where the linens are kept. Listen, we are about the luxury, the opulence. But yeah, so, and again, I think I said this in the first video, the second class of accommodations on the Titanic were the equivalent of first class accommodations on other ships of the time period. So there were instances where, you know, a passenger would book second class when they could have easily gotten a first class ticket, but maybe they didn't want to use, like, there were certain, in addition to the fact that the first class was super opulent, you also had access to the swimming pool, the Turkish baths, and the gym and the squash court, which you did not have access to in second class. Now, you could easily turn second class rooms into first class rooms and vice versa on this ship. Like I said, it was the thing about traveling for companies like White Star Line and Cunard was it was all about the experience. It was about luxury, like comfort. Even for third class passengers, they were very comfortable, relatively speaking, to other ships of the time period. So it was about, and it was also about safety. It kind of, people, I don't know. There are a lot of myths about the Titanic. And maybe I should go through. I would highly recommend. I like. Ocean Liner Designs has done so many great videos. Please go check them out. They'll talk about all the myths that are associated with the ship. It's a fascinating ship with a fascinating story. I There's just so much that will just blow your mind about it. So, like, it's just, okay. So let's see. We want to try to see the gym. Let me see if I can figure out where is the gym. I think it is the first or second level. Okay, so it's aft of forward grand staircase, starboard side of boat deck. So if you don't know nautical terms, and I had to look this up today because I always forget, I am not a nautical person. So you think of it this way. So forward is bow of ship, aft like after. So after the bow of the ship is aft. Okay. Then the right side is starboard side and the left side is port side. And I think it's the reason it's called that is because the port side is where ships used to dock in the shipping yard. So when they were being built and launched, they were on the port side. So the other side, being the starboard side, is the side facing the stars, facing away from the. I think that's how you were. That's how I'm going to choose to remember it. But I think that's right. I think it's called port side because that was the side that faced the shipping yard. I think that's correct. Hopefully. Okay, so we have. This would be, okay, this is another way to enter. This may be the, is this the second? Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to go so fast. This may be the second class entryway. No, 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 no. This is still first class. This is still first class. Okay. So I think we're on the opposite side of where we need to be. Yeah. So I get so turned around. It's insane. So these columns are part of the structural support. I think there's like steel beams on the inside or something. These columns mask those, but they are part of the structural support of the ship. Same thing with portions of the grand staircase. Remember with the Titanic, there's two grand staircases. And I know the honor and glory people are strive for accuracy. So I think a lot of the paintings you see here are going to be accurate. This is again the purser's office or the inquiry office, I think is also what it's called. But yeah, so this is where you would, when you came in, this is where you would reserve your deck chair. You would they would assign seating. I think it was for dining only. Like you could sit anywhere you wanted any other time, like during breakfast or whatnot. But I think for dining, for dinner time, you would reserve your dining room seat. Now you could request that it be changed if you didn't like who you were sitting next to or you wanted to sit next to somebody else. But now the ship wasn't fully. There was like a coal strike or something before the ship launched. So they weren't fully booked. So you could probably change your seating arrangements if you wanted to. I imagine they would do things like, if you came with a group of people, they would seat you all together or something like that. So these are staterooms. Which one was this one? Oh yeah. So I don't know if it was the Astors or the Strausses that may have stayed in this room. But we saw this in my last video, so we're not going to get distracted. We need to go find that gymnasium. It's just a gorgeous ship. It really is. And it's such a shame. But you know, had it survived, it probably would have been retrofitted during the World War World War One. Was it World War One or World War Two? World War One. Yeah, it would have been retrofitted as a medical ship probably, or a officer transport ship, and they probably would have taken out a lot of the really nice features or refurbished it. Um, yeah, some of these fixtures you can still see today. You'll see them dangling by the wires in some very famous pictures of the staircase, the grand staircase. I don't know which one if this is the main grand staircase or the secondary. I think possibly the main. You can go look at the deck chairs. Okay, this is A deck. Yeah, this is the main grand staircase. You can tell by the honor and glory crowning time, which is the name of this fixture over here. And what is these little, did they find this little cherub guy? They found a couple of the statues, and they're actually in museums now. No, one of them may be in a hotel. There is some fixture that's in a hotel now. I didn't even pay attention. So, aft of forward grand staircase, starboard side. So if we're facing, oh, I'm going too fast. I'm going too fast. I'm going too fast. Slow it down. So I think that's going forward. I think that's the bow. So it would be this way. Probably not. We'll find out. I get so turned around with directions. I'm terrible. Oh, I can't go this way. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. They won't trap me in here. I can make my way out. Maybe I have to go out this way. I probably do have to go out this way. Let's see. Yes, I can. Okay. So I think, are they all numbered? No, but they got the white Star Line logo on them. I didn't know if maybe they were numbered. How do you know which one will be yours then? I would think there'd be a number on there somewhere. Because if you like, I want deck chair 80. Maybe you were just like, hey, I just want to reserve a deck chair on, I don't know, a deck promenade. And they're like, okay, well, we have 50 available. So, yeah, you will mark you down as getting one of the deck chairs. And then they just gave you whichever deck chair. Maybe that's how that worked. It could be. Whoop. I always do that. Going the wrong way. Going the wrong way. My sense of direction is for naught. Is this the one? No, no, no. It's the other one. It's the other one. Hold on. Slow, 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 slow. So, if I recall correctly, so you'll notice how it's enclosed, which was a really nice feature. You got to enjoy being outdoors without, you know, the roughness of the Atlantic Ocean spraying you and whatnot. This here is a feature that was not on its sister ship. And I think that's how you can tell the Olympic from the Titanic, is this part right here, this outer wall. Because some people have tried to pass off photos of the Olympic as the Titanic, and it's like, no. This part right here is how you know. So you got to be careful, because the Titanic and the Olympic were so similar in design and decor that it's very easy. So what White Star Line and Cunard did was, every time they would build a ship, they would take the stuff that they really liked from the ship that came before them, and then things they didn't like, they'd be like, okay, well, we're gonna change that. And it was like, okay, like, really smart stuff, right? And the thing with maiden voyages is that, it's a test run, right? So with the Titanic, if I recall, there were a lot of issues with the heating. Like the ship was very unevenly heated. They had like guests complain and stuff like that. So they were like, okay, well, we will fix this on the next voyage. And it's just like, never got that second voyage. Ah, gosh darn it. Maybe those directions were wrong. It's very possible. Maybe it's the deck above me. It's very possible. Well, why don't you enjoy this nice little stroll we're taking? See, they have it labeled first class entrance. It would be nice, I think, to sit out here. What people don't realize about, and I learned this, is, oh, what's this say? To secure the comfort of the passengers while they are asleep, the company respectfully urges that early morning strollers will not pass forward of this sign. Ooh. Okay. Okay, that means there's rooms along this part. Okay, that makes sense. Oh yeah. Oh, that's nice. I would enjoy so as I was saying, so what people don't realize about traveling back then on ocean liners, it's not like they show it in the movies where everybody's dressed in their best and when they go to dine and stuff. It was actually a lot more informal. Like it was meant to be. Let's go up. It was a lot more relaxed. Like you didn't wear your Sunday finery to dinner every night. It's just that wasn't a thing. It was you dressed well, but you just didn't. It wasn't because you're on a ship. You're on a ship traveling for a few days on rough seas. You want to relax. Okay, let's see if we can't find this darn gymnasium. Oh, here we are. Never mind. Okay. Okay, so here it tells you a little something about this. Yes, okay. So, oops, sorry. Okay, so there's your times. Women, it was 10 to 1. Gentlemen, 2 to 7. And then the kids could come in from 1 to 3. Okay. So Mr. Thomas W. McCauley was kind of like, I don't know if he trained people, but he showed them how to use the machine. So a lot of people would come here. Uh, People weren't fitness wasn't a lifestyle thing like it is nowadays. Like, it doesn't mean people didn't want to be healthy, but they had different ideas on what was healthy living. And so a lot of people would come here. This is all state of the art equipment for the time period. They would come in here and they wouldn't know what to do with these machines. They'd want to check them out. They'd be like, oh, this is interesting. What do I do with this? And you'd have an instructor here that could show you, hey, you want to try the rowing machine? Here's how you would operate it. Just like you would go to your gym during if you don't have a 24-hour gym, but if you have a 24-hour gym, like any kind of gym, you usually have an attendant that will like help you use the machines and whatnot. So it's the same thing, which is really cool. I think I read that the electric camel was the most popular. I think it's this thing right here. Was the most popular Maybe not that. Maybe it was these. Are these the electric camels, maybe? They were the most popular equipment. And I don't know if that's on the Titanic because she only had like 3 days or like of the time. Now, I think I read that Britannica, Brit- Britannia, I can't remember the name of this ship. I don't think that was a white, was that White Star Line? I can't remember, but it was of that class of ocean liners. It had, I think, a smaller gym for second class. I think. Don't ask me how to work any of these equipment. I I'm sure Ocean Liner Designs did a video. In fact, I'm pretty sure they did do a video on the gym. They probably did several and could tell you all about it. This one, I think it's like when I go to the gym, I never use these type of. I never use like the only machines I use. I'll do like the elliptical and I'll do the bike. But these, I think I know how these work because I think we have a modern equivalent of this. Like I think that slides and then you pull on these straps. I think that's how that works. And then obviously this is a rowing machine, which I think would be fun. I think you can actually, what is it? Yes, this. So this is like a game. Kind of you could go up against, like you could race against somebody else, I think. And I think this little clock thing would like measure your speed or something. Or maybe it just said how long you were going. I don't know. But it's pretty interesting. And then you've got RMS, Olympic, and Titanic, the largest steamers in the world. And there's a little cutout map. That's very cool. I like that a lot. And then I think, oops, sorry, I'm trying not to. I think this would tell you the routes. Okay, so something people don't realize. So yeah, that's going to tell you the routes. So something people don't realize is you see all these red dots here, these little travel routes. So they were like the highways of the ocean. So the reason the Titanic and ships like it didn't have enough lifeboats for everyone was because the lifeboats were never intended to keep people in the ocean for hours or days. It was literally, so what the theory was is you want to keep the ship up long enough that the next ship that comes through, because you've got ships passing each other, all kinds of different ships, ocean liners, cargo ships, fishing vessels. So you got people constantly passing each other or passing by each other. So you want to keep the ship up, floating long enough that you can hail the next ship to come, and then you can transport people, as many people into lifeboats as you can, bring them over to that ship, have the ship send those lifeboats back, pick the people up from the sinking ship, and then take them back. So theoretically, you could take, if you can keep Titanic afloat long enough, like say, and I think they did, what was it, I think it was like 2.5 hours the ship hadn't sunk yet. I think she was upright for like 2.5 hours before she split in two and sank. So I think, what was it the Carpathia that turned off her radio or something? Anyway, so there were like two ships close to the Titanic that could have come within like an hour or something. And then a bunch of stuff. I can't really remember. I think one ship turned off its radio. The other ship saw the distress flares but didn't know what to think. Like they didn't recognize them as distress flares or couldn't get to it in time. Like I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'll have to go watch the videos on that again. But basically that was why they made the ships the way they did back then. That was part of the safety protocol. You wanted to have enough lifeboats that you can transport passengers to and from the ships. That's why they were designed the way they were. They weren't super heavy and sturdy, but one, you didn't want super heavy lifeboats on a ship because every bit of weight matters. Like in terms of the Beyonce, in terms of the Beyonce, you know what I'm saying. I can't say the word, but in terms of keeping it afloat, you don't want too much weight, particularly on top. So I think that's what they had in mind. Hey, how many of these can we put on here that we can take people across as few times as possible? So I think theoretically, it would be like what, 2, 3 trips with those lifeboats going back and forth between two ships. And it's not like they would all travel at once. You bring them in, and then some would keep going as the others were coming in, and you would board passengers that way, right? That was the goal. So that's why they didn't have as many lifeboats. And White Star Line, actually, the Titanic actually had more lifeboats than was required at the time. The ship also wasn't speeding. That's a myth. It wasn't speeding. If you watch the videos and read about it, it did sound like that the captain, who was one very, very experienced, very reputable, um, very much cared about his passengers. This safe. There's it's out of character for him to try to break some arbitrary record, just to get, which I don't think it would have even made the papers that way, getting there like a day early. In fact, I think it would probably mess with some people's travel plans if he did that. But being a seasoned, respectable, reputable captain, and this was literally like his last voyage too, so he'd been at this for a long, long time. He would not, it would make sense for him to speed through dangerous waters on a dark night on calm water where visibility was very, very low. It wouldn't have made sense. It would have been so out of character. And, people had reported seeing the captain and Ismay helping people onto the boats. So that's, unfortunately, James Cameron, he made a wonderful movie and did a lot of research, but he kind of malign the character of Captain Smith and Bruce Ismay and Murdoch to make a more dramatic story. Unfortunately, people take it as fact because Cameron is very knowledgeable about many things. It's obviously Titanic is his passion. They forget that he's a filmmaker first, and he is all about the drama. So, but that's why the lifeboat situation is the way it is. That, in case you're wondering, it makes sense when you realize that the routes that were taken were frequented by so many ships. Oh, I went too fast. So it's just some food for thought. Let's see. Do we have time to do second class? Let's do second class. Oh, we'll make this video a little bit long. Okay. All right. Sorry for that noise, guys. I'm trying to move I will never get a headset that's corded ever again. Okay, so we're doing the second class rooms now. Now, unfortunately, they do not have any second class suites available for us to look at. Well, suites, rooms. But keep in mind, second class accommodations on this ship were the equivalent to first class accommodations on other ships. So If you're wondering about why some of the walls are white, I think that more minimalist, like keep in mind this is like what I think late stage Edwardianism aesthetic, so it's kind of going into a more minimalist, like it's going, because the Victorian era was a lot more opulent, and then you can kind of slowly see that kind of go into a more minimalist aesthetic. And you can even see a little bit of, just a little trace of the upcoming deco era in some of these walls. But here's something about Project 401. They're wanting to make, they were originally, 401 Titanic Honor and Glory was originally supposed to be a game, and it actually sounded like it was going to be a really good game too. Um, they decided that they, instead of doing a video game, they wanted to make a virtual museum. So that's why it's taken forever for the full version to be in. This is the old version, but it's pretty accurate, and this is actually a really pretty room. I mean, like I said, it's much more minimalist, but I actually really like the paneling here. Nope, I didn't mean to go so fast. You can see, nice. This is nice. I think this is the reading room. So we're just going to do a slow pan. And look at these columns. Yeah. Ooh. That's very nice. Whoa. Sorry guys, there's no way for me to ease in and out of zooming in. Yeah, this looks like carpeting on this room. Again, carpeting is heavier and harder to clean, which is why not many rooms have it. Looks like somebody was playing a game of chess in here. My uncle taught me how to play chess. I'm not very good at it, but it was fun learning. He used to play board games with me. I was an only grandchild on one side of the family for about 8 years. So I appreciate my older kin taking some time to play board games with me. It was very cool. You can see some stationery over here. This is a nice little writing desk. Got all your envelopes. Okay, sorry guys, I'm trying to go slow here. Here's some books. You can check out books. I heard it was not uncommon for people to forget to return the books that they borrowed. Like people will go through their great grandparents' things and find a stamp or something with some some ocean liner company's insignia on it. I don't know if this is an actual book. I'll let you. I'm trying to get close to it so you can read it right here. You can't read it. Okay, let's go look at some of these other rooms. Like I said, very nice, and I'm sure I don't see any, but I know they have the little attendant. There's one right there. A little attendant button. Do you see it right there? I think that's what that is. Maybe not. No, I don't know what that is. They're much smaller than that. Okay, where are we going? To become the way we get. Oh yeah, this thing. So this is not, this is actually how it was in the designs. So this is an awkward place to place this, but that is how it was. I mean, there is room. You can go around it. You can go around it. I think this is letters. Yeah, there's a little post box. And they take it to the mailroom, which sadly I don't think any of the post people survived. I think they were in the postal rooms trying to grab the bags of letters to take with them. I guess they thought they could salvage them for the lifeboats, but I mean, it was an exercise in futility. It's very sad. So, talking about the cost of the human life cost of this. Okay, so I think this is the second class smoking room. Yes, this is the second class smoking room. It's actually really nice. And I think they found bits of this tile work has been salvaged and is in some traveling museums, I think. I think it's very nice. This is a very nice room. I like the green. Green and blue are my favorite colors. Very nice. So I think these are attendant boxes. I think they had, maybe they're little stores. You got a little button you can, and there's your little spittoon. So you don't have quite the view that you would have had on first class. Well, you got some nice little view right there. I mean, it's ocean. I mean, during the sunset and sunrise, it would be gorgeous, but I mean, unless you see a whale or something, it's not particularly. Um, I like this door. This is a really nice door. Very nice. Now I forget which way I was going. I'm trying to think. Oh, I've completely forgotten which way I was going. So that is second class section of the bow deck. Which I think some second class decks were above the first class decks, which I think is weird. But I think the kennels are around here somewhere too. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going around in circles. So this isn't a bad space. Second class is much smaller than first class or third class. See, we were up, so we want to go down. Oh yeah, this is an elevator. They only got one elevator, I think. It's fine. Hey, it's fine. I think some people were trying to get on the elevator. I think the elevators were crammed the night of the sinking. No, no. Granted, whenever I get to the third class spaces, you'll see why. It would have been a nightmare trying to navigate the ship. So again, returning to the cost of human life. So as you can imagine, when the ship sank, it was a very dark night. No moon, just the stars. Um, it was very difficult to see. The only lights you had were from the ship. So in the boiler room, the gentlemen down there, I think they were called firemen, stayed during the sinking. Didn't try to go up to lifeboats. They stayed to, and they weren't ordered to. They chose to do this. Stayed to keep the boilers running so that the ship had lights, so people could get up to the deck and the officers could see to lower the lifeboats. If the men in the boiler rooms had not done what they did, a lot more people would have died. So nobody ever talks about them. And they did so much. So it's very sad. It was very scary. They died horribly. But because they stayed, so many people lived. And it's just something to think about. Try not to get teared up. Sorry. Okay, so this is the second class and dining area. It's actually really nice. This is actually really nice. So if you're wondering about the pineapples, pineapples were huge in the Edwardian era. Victorian and Edwardian, I think. I don't know why. Like the light fixtures resemble pineapples. This is something I've seen in other like imagery of Victorian and Edwardian times was pineapple motifs, and I don't know what it was about pineapples. They just really liked pineapples. So yeah, and I don't know if second class dining seating was assigned. I know it wasn't assigned for first class, I don't think. Or I'm sorry, for third class, I don't think. But I don't know about second class. I think I think I remember hearing the guys say that worked on Project 401 if they'd go back, they would add lamps to the first class dining tables, but I don't know if they would have been in the second class dining room. Another thing you got to keep in mind is when the ship was sinking because of all the electricity, at one point it got very dangerous. Very dangerous. You could be shocked. I think these doors either go into the kitchens or the staff dining areas. Oops, sorry, I'm trying not to go too fast. I was going to do a 30-minute video, but I think an hour video will be perfect to stop it. Okay. That looks like it. And again, you're seeing that linoleum. This is not tile, this is linoleum. And of course, they masked the structural support with these big, I think this is all oak. Maybe oak? Maybe oak was just first class. I'm trying to think of what other woods they used. As you can see, it's nice. Listen, you could, like I said, second class accommodations on the Titanic were the equivalent of first class on other ships. This is very nice. Titanic is meant to feel like a floating hotel, like a floating European hotel. I think that is it for the second class accommodations, because there's no rooms to visit. Now there is a medical wing, but I don't remember how to get to it. Yeah, so I think we should just end the video there. Next time we come in, I'll go look. We could do boiler, the engine room, we could do third class. I mean, there's other things to see, but I wanted to show some of the main features. But hopefully I'm not gone so fast that you can't enjoy this. And if I have, just slow it down. Just slow the speed down. But yeah, we're going to end it on this note. Thank you guys so much for watching. More actual gameplay coming soon, but I thought, oh my gosh, look at these. Hold on, look at these silly. Oh wow, that's nice. Anyway, more actual gameplay coming soon, but if you like this video, hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. If you know anything about, thank you so much for watching. I'm very bad at outros. Have a good one.